Welcome everybody to the Sideline Speaks. Kevin Walker and Jason Collins tonight. No Brittany Jones tonight. Britt's got some stuff she's got to take care of, so Britt won't be with us. But K Walk and I have a bunch of great stuff to talk about tonight. So we're definitely looking forward to a great show. What's going on, K Walk? How you doing, man?
All is well, Jay. All is well. Looking forward to another great one.
Yeah, man, should be fun. And man, this is a tradition now. Before we get started, we gotta
Hey,
say what's
Sandy.
up,
Hey, Sandy and Sean.
Sandy, and Sean, man,
Yeah,
our
appreciate you
faithful,
guys.
faithful
Yeah,
listeners.
man.
So, Sandy and
Yeah,
Sean, we appreciate y'all for checking us out faithfully every week. And
yeah. Yeah.
Got some college football to discuss as well. Coach Prime. There's a big game, Alabama and Georgia this weekend
Ooh,
as well. And we'll talk a little bit of WNBA too, man. The playoffs have kicked off. Got some WNBA games tonight. So we're going to run the whole gamut tonight of sports. So let's just jump into it right away, man. We're going to get to the Cowboys in a minute. Brits, Eagles, your 49ers. We'll get into all that. But first, man, I thought, why don't we start with the undefeateds, man? Because
okay.
I believe, if I'm right, there's 5 undefeated teams
Yeah.
as we complete 3 weeks of NFL football. We
Mhm.
got the Steelers, the Vikings, the Seahawks, the Chiefs, and the Bills. Okay, well, what I'm going to do, man, I'm going to take you through them one by one. And I just
Yeah.
want you to tell me if the team is a contender or if they're just a pretender. I know it's only 3 weeks in, so
Right.
it might be easy for some pretenders to kind of
Yeah.
slip in there when we're just 3 weeks in. So I want your assessment on those teams, man. So let's start with the Buffalo Bills, who have been red hot. A
Yeah.
lot of people are saying Josh Allen's like the early favorite for MVP. What are
Yeah.
your thoughts on the Bills? Legit contenders, or are they just pretenders?
Yeah, Jay, I'm going to say legit contenders. I think they're contenders every year, and we always see it's always predicated on the play of Josh Allen. And we always say he likes to play that superhero type football, and he seems to be doing it the same up in these 3 days, these 3 games. But he seems to be doing it with a little bit more caution. He's a little more smarter than he's been in the past. He's not trying to jump over guys or run through guys and things of that nature and putting his body in harm. He seems to be a lot smarter, running out of bounds, sliding when he needs to slide, not relying. He doesn't have Stephon Diggs. And I know that sounds crazy, but sometimes not having a receiver like that
Yeah.
will help you because it will help you spread the ball around and get it to all these different receivers. I mean, Shakir came out of nowhere. I mean, you got the young kid from Florida State, Keon Coleman. He had a touchdown last night. And then, all the other guys in the mix as well. And then James Cook is playing outstanding football as well, both running and receiving the ball. So these guys are definitely contenders, Jay. I think with this offense right now, Josh Allen doesn't have to play Superman football, and he doesn't have to
Yeah.
force it downfield or force it to Stephon Diggs. So they're definitely contenders to me.
Yeah, they're at their best when he doesn't try to
Yeah,
put that cape on and be
right.
Superman, where he can just play good complementary football. Obviously, he makes plays, he's a playmaker, but when he doesn't have to try to do too many extra things, I think that's
Right.
when they're at their best. I saw a stat today, man, like when he doesn't turn the ball over, I think they're 18-0 when he does not turn the ball over. So
Yeah.
just take care of the football and they're going to win a whole lot of games.
That's it.
All right,
That's it.
let's go to the Kansas City Chiefs, man, who are undefeated, but they haven't been overly impressive in my eyes. But what category would you put them in right now? Legit contenders, or are the 2-time Super Bowl champs pretending this year?
Jay, yeah, anytime you got Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid, they're always contenders. And then looking at their record, they're 3-0. So you gotta put them in that. You gotta not pencil them in, but pin them in as contenders. So yeah, we know that how this story goes. Last year, I think they led the league in drops and things of that nature, but they always find a way to win. Right now, I think the big storyline is Travis Kelce is not involved in the offense, but they're winning. I think he has like 8 catches for 69 yards in the first 3 games, no touchdowns. But you have the young kid that you drafted out of Texas and Xavier Worthy. You got Rice is playing well as right now. I know Pachenko went down with that leg injury. He's going to be out for a while. But then these guys step up. I forget the running back's name. His name escapes me, number 42. his name escapes me, but he's playing, really complimentary football. And then of course you got Patrick Mahomes, and that defense always plays, led by Chris Jones and those guys. So McDuffie, I think McDuffie is over there. I think it is the one over there. So they play great complimentary football. So definitely contenders. Anytime you got Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid, then you've got a chance, and you got to consider them to be contenders.
Yeah, and the scary thing about them, man, is that they haven't even played great, and they're still finding a way to win. So
Yeah.
once they kind of get that thing rolling, look out. I think they're going to be right in the mix at the end of the year as well. All right, let's go to the Seattle Seahawks, a team that I really haven't watched a whole lot in the first 3 weeks. I don't know if you have either, K-Walk, but what's your assessment on Seattle? Contenders or pretenders?
Yeah, being a 49er guy and being an NFC West guy, we have to keep our eye on them to see what they're doing, what they look like. You know what, Jay? I'm going to call them contenders right now because of the style of the ball that they play. Geno Smith is playing really well. They got the two receivers and Lockett and DK Metcalf. Even though Kenneth Walker has been out, who's their best running back, they still have Cabernet, whatever his name. I can't pronounce his name, but they still have him in there to fill in and the tight end as well. So right now, I'm going to say they're contenders. I think the league may catch up with them. I think they got a big one this week, Monday night against I forget Detroit. So that's going to be a litmus test for them. They have Detroit. I think Detroit's 2-1. I know we're not going to talk about them too much, but I think they could very easily be 3-0, and I think that they're still going to carry over from their success, meaning the Lions from last season. So I think that this week is going to tell the tale about how good the Seahawks really are. Are they pretenders or contenders? But right now, I'm going to say they're contenders.
Okay, good stuff. Yeah, I'll go with you on that because, like I said, I haven't watched them a whole lot. Seen a few highlights. Geno Smith, I think he deserves a hat tip. I mean, this was a guy who I think a lot of people had probably wrote off in the first part of his career, but he's having a great second act. So I think, he definitely deserves a hat tip for the way he's been playing. All right, let's go to the Minnesota Vikings. I don't know if K-Sap is watching or if he's in the chat, but he said, hey, take notice of these Minnesota Vikings. And man, they had the Texans just in knots all on Sunday afternoon. CJ Stroud looked confused. That defense got after him. I think they blitzed him on like 18 out of 37 passing attempts. So they just really went after him. Sam Darnold is playing well enough. So give me your thoughts on those Vikings, man. Contenders, or are they just pretending right now?
It's hard for me to say that they're contenders, Jay, because Sam Darnold is there. And in my opinion, I just think Sam Darnold at some point is going to Sam Darnold. And I'm not saying that he's horrible by any stretch, but I just don't think he's a quarterback that you're going to say can lead you to the Super Bowl, can win you a Super Bowl. If you look at his record, you look at his movies, as I like to say sometimes, that defense is top notch. That is a quality defense. It's a Super Bowl defense. Anytime you have a top 5 defense, you have a chance. And as long, and I know you don't want Sam Darnold to be, you don't need him to be that, that superstar. You need him to be a game manager. Don't turn the ball over. And if he could continue to do that, I guess you can call him contenders. But I don't believe it, Jay. I don't believe that this team led by Sam Darnold is a contender. So right now I'm going to say they're pretenders in K-Sap. K-Sap. I apologize, brother fan. But right now we know how it is, Sam Darnold. So if you look at this and say Sam Darnold is going to be in the Super Bowl, they're going to lead the Vikings to the Super Bowl, even the diehard fan of the Vikings can't really form those words, to come out of their mouth. And then if they do, they really don't believe it, Jay, to be honest with you. So I'm going to say they're pretenders.
Like I agree with your point. Brian Flores has that defense playing outstanding football. And you're probably right about Sam Darnold, K-Walk. I mean, I can't even disagree with that point. The only thing if someone wanted to counter, maybe they can say, well, highly successful in college, maybe was at the wrong organization when he first
Yeah,
came
I
out.
said that.
You know, you could maybe try to make those things fit. Now he's got a second chance, similar to maybe a guy like a Baker Mayfield or, you know, something like that. So maybe now he's in a better situation, but I agree with you. Like if we're talking serious contender, I'm going to have to see it for a few more weeks out of Sam Darnold
Yeah,
before I'd be willing to put the Vikings in that category. All right, what about the Pittsburgh Steelers, K-Walk? Undefeated. We know that the talk, Justin Fields, Russell Wilson at quarterback. At times they've won ugly, but that's part of the Steelers brand.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So they're kind of right on brand, physical football, good solid defense, running the ball. Justin Fields is playing well, but he's not setting the world on fire.
Exactly.
So where do you have the Steelers right now? Contenders or pretenders?
Jay, I'm gonna put them in the same category as Minnesota for the same reasons as well. I mean, I just think they're pretenders right now. They have a great defense. They really are. And if it wasn't for that defense, I don't think they wouldn't be undefeated. But you know, it's a team. It's a team sport. I get it. It's a team game. And, you know, all you have to do is ask your quarterback not to lose the game for you. And we've seen some quarterbacks do that and get to the Super Bowl. And I'm not saying these guys can't get to the Super Bowl, but I just think what they have to go up against and in their track record precedes them. So I'm going to say they're pretenders because I just think it's really, I know it's early in the season, but I'm going to say they're pretenders right now. I think the league will catch up to them and someone will find a way to get to Justin Fields, and maybe hopefully not for Justin Fields is a purpose, but we may be talking about Russell Wilson being back and being back at the start. I know we're going to talk about that a little later, but nonetheless, I'm going to call them pretenders right now. I just don't think Justin Fields he's in the same category as Sam Darnold. I just don't see him being a Super Bowl quarterback right now.
Yeah, and let's get into that part, K-Walt, because I do think that's the interesting question because as I said, Fields isn't setting the world on fire, but he's obviously playing well enough for them to win football games. He's not making the critical error. He's using his legs. He's throwing it decent at times. But I think the question is, I mean, you know, the age-old saying, K-Walk, like, no, you don't lose your job to injury. So at some point, that calf is going to be well enough for Russell Wilson to be able to get back out on the field, if it's not already. I mean, who knows? But I'm going to ask it two ways to you, K-Walk. Number one, should Russell Wilson get his job back? Just off of theory, do you think Russ should be the guy? But then number two, will he get his job back? Get in the head of Mike Tomlin. What do you think Tomlin's going to do with that situation?
I think Tomlin's going to ride the hot hand, to be honest with you. I think he doesn't get his job unless, he just turns around and just stinks up the joint, meaning Russell Wilson. If he doesn't get his job unless Justin Fields goes out there and just stinks up the joint. And the way that they're playing, it's hard for him to do that, to be honest with you. So as long as he stays healthy and he continues to play the way that he's playing, I guess that's a Captain Obvious answer, I guess. But I think that it's Justin Fields' job to lose. I think that, you mentioned, you don't lose your job because of injury. Tell Wally Pipp that from the Yankees, that created Lou Gehrig, you know what I mean? So Wally Pipp doesn't want to hear that same. So, but nonetheless, exactly. Drew Bledsoe, and exactly. So even better for I guess, But yeah, I think that as long as he's playing, as long as he's not turning the ball over, Justin Fields, and as long as he's game managing right now, I think he'll continue to ride. Mike Tomlin continue to ride that hand, and Russell Wilson is just out of a job. And again, unless knock on wood for Justin Fields, unless he gets hurt.
Yeah, I agree with you, man. I think Tomlin's going to continue to stick with Fields as long as he's playing well enough. And then if they keep winning, obviously you're not going to make a change. They got the Colts this weekend, which is another very winnable game. So I think Justin Fields is going to be in that spot at least for the next few weeks and could be longer depending on how he plays. All right, K-Walk, let's get into some of the games from the weekend. And let's start with the Dallas Cowboys. We knew this was a big game, not only for the Cowboys, but also for the Ravens, who were 0-2 at the time. And once again, very similar to last week, Dallas, it just looked like they didn't show up. Got dominated, made a run at the end, but I don't really think that tells the story of the football game. But what did you see, man, in this game? Give me your thoughts on Cowboys Ravens.
It's hard for me to go deep into this day, Jay, because my 49ers, I had the TV on, the
Yep.
49ers on, and they were on at the same time as this game was. So it was hard for me to look at the game and dissect the game. But from what I gathered, it was just the Cowboys being the Cowboys, the same Cowboys that we saw, at least the early part of the game, that we saw in the Saints game in the previous week. And from every time that I looked up, it seemed like the Ravens had the ball. The Ravens had the ball, and then obviously that was indicative of the score early anyway. But yeah, I just think that the Cowboys right now, I don't think they have what it takes as far from a team standpoint. I mean, I don't think they play together well. They have great pieces in certain spots. I think Dak is a serviceable quarterback. Obviously, you got CeeDee Lamb, who's an All-Pro. You got the corners and Diggs, and I forget the other corner's name. And then, of course, you got Michael Parsons as well. But it just doesn't seem like these pieces are playing together, are fitting, forming that puzzle, if you will, together. They're all doing their own thing. That's what it looks like to me. But I think towards the end, I think, the Ravens took their foot off the gas, if you will, and allowed Dallas to get back into that game. So I just think that, excuse me, I just think that it's the Cowboys just not cowboying up right now. They're not playing together. They're not playing. They're not playing as a football team that wants to win together. That they understand. What's at stake. Everybody wants their money. I get that. We all get that. But at the same time, you still have to come together once you step inside those lines.
Yeah, man. And I'll tell you what, I saw something in that game that if you're a Cowboys fan, you should be really concerned because you come out of halftime 21-6. The Ravens get the ball. Look, you're only a couple scores out of the game. You're thinking, we come out, we get a defensive stop, we score, we're right back in the game, right? Or at least that's the mentality they should be coming out of the locker room with. Man, I saw guys turning their shoulders, shying away from Derrick Henry was just running it right down their throats. And it did not. I hate to use the word quit when we're talking about professional athletes, but that's kind of what it looked like in those first couple drives of the third quarter. Like they did not want any part of the physicality that the Ravens were bringing to them. No. And that if you're a Cowboys fan looking at that, you've got to be concerned. And then when you factor in new defensive coordinator, are they understanding? Do they understand the scheme? Is it, just is a lot of things that could factor into that as well. So that bothered me as a Cowboys fan. The other thing I thought about too, and this might have been a point that Britt was alluding to last week, as she was saying, like $60 million man Dak, like, is he worth it? And I was like, well, it's just the market. That's just what they pay these guys. But then I'm thinking, like, if you got a $60 million man, highest paid guy in the league, like, shouldn't he give you something extra? Like, doesn't he have to be better than just, I'm a good quarterback? And I think that might have been what Britt was alluding to last week. Like, give me something a little bit extra if you're the $60 million man. Like, can you pull a few strings? Can you lead a comeback? Can you do something beyond just good, solid quarterbacking? And up to this point, I just don't think Dak has done that, man. So I don't know, man. The Cowboys are up against it right now. I think they have a little bit of a bounce back. Maybe I think they get the Giants Thursday night. So Thursday night, could be a bounce back game for them. But man, if they lose that one, I don't know what to say.
And the Giants are riding high off of that win against the Browns. So we're going to see. They're in MetLife as well. So it's going to be interesting.
So NFL, there's no gimmies. There are no gimmies. You have to get out there and earn it. Did you see Micah Parsons' comments after the game? Did you happen to see when he was
I did not, Jay. I did not.
He was saying they asked him, what went wrong, and he was like, "Oh, guys are just out there trying to be Superman, and we just need everybody to do their job." And I kind of understand what he was trying to say, but at the same time, it's like, well, how do you even know that? Like, you're playing the game. You don't know what everyone else is doing until you go back and look at the film. So I just, look, Micah Parsons, he's a Penn State guy, but I just think he needs to be quiet sometimes, K-Walk. Like, sometimes I just feel like he talks too much, man.
Yeah, Jay. That podcast he's taking that podcast everywhere he goes, man.
Yeah. And sometimes, man, like the great player doesn't necessarily have to be the leader. And I
So
and
thank
I
you, bro.
saw I
Thank
saw
you.
him talking to some guys on the sideline, like, and it looked like it was like in one ear out the other.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
guys were like,
yeah.
this is not a guy we want to follow. Like for whatever reason, maybe it's some locker
Hmm.
room stuff, maybe it's attitude, personality. We know he's a great football player, but
Yeah,
I don't know that he's the guy that's going to be the leader of that Cowboys defense because he didn't seem like a guy that the other players were willing to hitch their wagon to. So
gotcha,
that's
gotcha.
just kind of my observation,
Wow,
man. But we'll
wow.
see. We'll see what happens Thursday night. Maybe the boys can get back on track.
Maybe Jay. Though I wouldn't be surprised if the Giants walk out with a victory, man. I would not be. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Let's go to your 49ers, man.
yeah,
Another loss this weekend to the
yeah,
Rams. And man, it's hard to even tell the story of the 49ers without talking about the injury bug, man, which has
yeah.
just kind of been all over this football team right now. So I know you were locked in on this one. Give us the
Definitely.
breakdown on 49er Rams. And then how concerned are you with all the injuries that are happening right now?
Yeah, when you look at this game, Jay, I mean they're looking great. Defense is playing really well as expected. Brock Purdy's coming out there. He's throwing the ball. Juwan Jennings, where it's a lot of stepped up, which a lot of people expected him to do. With no Debo and no George Kittle, and he came out on fire. He and Brock Purdy were locked into one another from the very start. Brock they had 3 touchdowns. Juwan Jennings had 3 touchdowns. Look great. Control the ball for the most part, up 14 points, early. And then going into the fourth quarter, which a lot of 49er fans don't like, is they had a 10-point lead in the fourth quarter. And we don't like, at least I don't like 10-point leads in the fourth quarter when the 49ers are up, man. It's just something about the 10-point lead in the fourth quarter that they just
Yeah.
can't hold on to. But I can't put it on I'm not putting it on the injuries because that's a game that they had in hand that they should have won.
Yeah.
I think what the teams are starting to realize or starting to see is that the 49ers are susceptible at covering the deep ball. We saw that against Minnesota. We saw that against Sam Darnold in that
Yes.
97-yard pass, to 97-yard touchdown to Justin Jefferson, and they went deep or often in that game. And that's exactly what the Rams did. They went deep and they tested the 49ers, their discipline or lack thereof, over the top. And
Yep.
that was the difference there, Jay. That was the difference. I mean, I can't put it on play calling. Brock Purdy playing a heck of a game, 292 yards, 3 touchdowns, 41 yards rushing. But there was one drop I'm going to put on Ronnie Bell. Ronnie Bell, we had, it was if he catches this ball, so on third down, he catches this ball, it's a game over. We can run the clock out for the most part. And the ball hits him right in his hands, and he just drops it. I mean, great throw by Purdy, great route by Ronnie Bell, hit him in the hands and just dropped it. That goes. I mean, a lot of people I'm putting it on that play. A lot of people are saying, Moody, the kicker, missed a field goal late to get the 10-point lead, give him a 10-point lead or late in that game. I'm not going to put it on that because they still had an opportunity to come back down and end the game had Ronnie Bell caught that ball. So that's what I'm putting it on. Now, to answer your question about the injuries, yeah, you always could be concerned about injuries, especially with injuries, not just to your best players, but the league's best players. And we're talking about, the offensive player of the year last year.
Yeah.
We talk about Debo, a Pro Bowler. We talk about George Kittle, a Pro Bowler. I don't use that as an excuse. I just say next man up. And that's how it is. Juwan Jennings stepped up and did his thing. The offense did what they were supposed to do. It's football, Jay. It's football. It's a game of inches. Had Ronnie Bell caught that ball, the game we be talking about the 49ers being 2-1 right now as opposed to being 1-2. So I'm not putting any of it because these are very winnable games right now, at least the first 3 or first 4. Got the Patriots Sunday.
Right?
Yeah, the Patriots Sunday. So very winnable game. It's at home. I know Brock Purdy is day-to-day right now because of a back soreness. We lost Javon Hargrave for the year to the Tri-State.
I saw that.
Tri-State. Yeah, so it's you can't use it as an excuse because if you look around the league, a lot of people are dealing with injury. We talk about Pacheco, got AJ Brown and Devontae Smith, and in Philly, you got you look at the Rams. They were without their two best receivers, as well, all pro receivers. So there's no excuses. I'm not even thinking about that, Jay. I'm just thinking about as long as Purdy is healthy and he's ready to go. I think they have a good chance. Are they the same team now? Obviously not.
Right.
But they're still good enough to win these games that are in front of them right now. So it's going to mainly be seen. This is a must-win game for them this Sunday without question.
Yeah, and you're right, man. Unfortunately, it's just the nature of this game.
Yeah.
You're not going to get through a season without guys getting hurt. Seems like it's piling up on them a little bit right now, but I'm sure it'll even out as you kind of go through the year. All right, let's talk about those Eagles, man. They escaped the Atlanta Falcons on Saturday. I don't know if you're an Eagles fan, if you feel any better, to be honest. I didn't think they played great. On the positive side, I thought they did a much better job stopping the run. Like those two big inside defensive tackles really showed up. So I thought that was a positive for Philly.
Yeah.
Offensively, though, Jalen Hurts, he's got to take care of the football, man. Like he just turns it over too much. And I know their receivers, AJ Brown was out. Devontae Smith got injured during the games. I know they had some guys out as well, but wasn't overly impressed with the offense and absolutely did not like the way the head coach managed that football game, man. I thought he left points on the field throughout that game, but your thoughts on the Eagles?
Yeah, Jay, and you know what? I don't want to hear Eagles fans. I know they won the game. They got out of that game. I would say actually the Saints lost that game, and I know there are Eagle fans, and Britt's probably watching, and she's probably like, whatever. It is what it is. My oldest son, Jordan, he's a diehard Eagles fan, and we're talking in the chat. My son Ty texts him. He says Sirianni needs to go.
Yeah,
they need to fire Sirianni. That's what he said. And his response, meaning my son Jordan, his response was ASAP.
Yeah,
and and you look on social media, and everyone's calling for his head, things of that nature. But as soon as they win, the Eagles win, and now they're back on top. So. But yeah, Jay, I think that right now, I think there's some carryover. I think there's some carryover from last year because the common denominator in all of this is Sirianni. Sirianni is, you can put it on Jalen Hurts. There's a new offensive. They got Kellen Moore. They got Vic Fangio. They got quality coordinators there. But Nick Sirianni, it just seems like he's just an analytical guy. I cannot stand analytics in football and sports, period. But it just seems like he just disrespects the game. Or I don't even call it disrespecting the game. I just don't think he has a complete understanding of how to manage a game or how to coach a game. Right. Yeah, and it's like if he gets it right, then he's the Eagles are great. If he gets it wrong, then he needs to go. And that's a thin line too. And that's a thin line. So they lost this. They won the same way they lost from the previous week. But I think Sirianni right now is on a week-to-week thing. I think that, they have a big one this week. I can think they have the Bucks this week, so that's not an easy one because the Bucks. I know they lost to Denver, but I think they'll regroup and they'll get back, and that's going to be a tough one for both teams, not just the Eagles. Yeah. But it's not a game that they can go in there and say, "Oh, well, we got this." They're really going to have to step up their offense because their offensive line is just not the same without Jason Kelce, man. You could see that. And you could pass on these guys as well. You mentioned Jalen Carter as well. He's a little bit of a hothead for me.
No question.
Yeah, he's a great player. Don't get me wrong, but is he worth what he can possibly cost you? So I know a couple of weeks ago he missed. He was fined or he didn't start because he missed a team event. I'm assuming it's a meeting. But all the antics that he had during the game and even after the game as well. So that's something you got to tame. And I don't think Sirianni's a guy that can tame that guy.
Yeah, he wasn't listening to anybody.
You say like 4 or 5 coaches.
I guarantee you, like I would book this. At some point in the year, he's going to do something stupid that's going to cost this football team. I don't know what it's going to be, but he's going to do something stupid at some point during the year. I don't think there's any question about that.
Yeah, and that's my assessment on that, Jason. I'm done with that.
Yeah, man, you're right. Like, I don't know why Sirianni, and not even just him, but just watching that game, like, why don't coaches value 3 points anymore? Right?
Yeah, well, you said, yeah,
Take
exactly,
the
man.
field goal,
Take the
because
field
you just
goal.
never know how the game's going to play out. Then you come back, you get another field goal, and you got 6 points on the board. Like, I don't know
Yes.
why these guys, for
Jay,
some
kills
reason,
me.
think 3 points is no good anymore, man.
Yeah.
Sometimes you got to take the field goal. And then the one time he did decide to kick the field goal, he kicked it from like almost midfield. And then he gives him like the ball at midfield.
Oh
I'm
my
like,
God, Jay.
what are you
Terrible, man.
doing? So
Yeah.
yeah, man, it was that was he's lucky to have won that. And
Yeah.
like you said, the Saints lost that game because I don't know why they were playing man to man on that last play when everybody in the world knows they're going to run crossing routes. So I don't know why they were sitting in man, but yeah, that's a game Philly should feel lucky to have won that game, man. Let's talk about the Monday night game from last night, man. Jaden Daniels and the Washington Commanders beat the Bengals. Bengals now defeated 0-3. Jaden Daniels, man, 21 of 23, threw some dimes late in the game for touchdown. I mean, he was phenomenal. I think 91 point something completion percentage, highest for a rookie ever in the history of the NFL. What are your thoughts, man, on Daniels, man? This rookie, he looks phenomenal right now.
Yeah, like I said in our thread last night, Jay, I'm loving this guy, man. I really am. I didn't love him last year when he ran all over my Gators, but nonetheless, he did his thing last night, and I wish he would be a little smarter with running the ball. I know they ask him to run the ball a lot. I think he will get smarter the older he gets, the more games he gets under his belt. He'll be smart, especially if he gets popped that one good time. Sometimes that's all it takes. But yeah, Jay, you look at the way he buys time. He uses his legs, and his deep ball is unbelievable. Two of those balls to Terry McLaurin, one right down, one, and he dropped it in the bucket. He dropped it in the bucket twice.
Yeah,
guys.
he did.
And he does a great job when they do the RPOs. He does a great job of reading that as well, knowing when to keep it, knowing when to give it as well. Young guy, still a lot of learning to do. But right now, Jay, I like it. They're 2-1 right now. The Commanders are 2-1, and to beat a Bengals team last night, with Jamar Chase going off, he had 2 touchdowns.
Yep.
It's a great win, and they won convincingly too. I know the Bengals came back and they brought it to a 1-possession game, but then they were able to get that first down and ultimately, put it away. So yeah, I like this young kid, Jay. And if they can continue to build around him, he can stay healthy and be smart with running. I think this guy is going to be all right. This team and Jaden Dale is going to be all right.
Yeah, man, I agree. Like I love what he's doing, getting the ball out of his hands quickly. Great deep ball thrower. I love what Cliff Kingsbury is doing too with him offensively. They're not trying to overcomplicate things. Somebody was saying today like that, because obviously the comparisons are going to come up between him and Caleb Williams. Obviously, 1 and 2 picks in the draft. Like that's going to happen. But the point that somebody was making was that Washington built their team from the inside out, so they have the offensive line to protect him. Okay. Whereas maybe Chicago, they don't, and Williams is running for his life. Some of that though is on Williams too, I think, because I think he still thinks he can play like he did in college, and that doesn't work. And both you and I, like neither one of us was super high on Williams coming out. We both felt like I'm not sure how that's going to translate. And we both like Jaden Daniels more than we liked Caleb Williams coming out. So far, I mean, look, I know we're only 3 games in, and there's a lot to still play out, but this kid looks like he's got the goods for sure.
Exactly, for sure.
It'd definitely be something to keep an eye on. K-Walk, the Red Rifle made a return.
Wow,
Andy Dalton, man, replaces Bryce Young and kind of balls out, man. Had a great game. The Carolina Panthers beat the Raiders. What do you make of that?
Yeah, Jay, Andy Dalton, man, is like a gnat at a barbecue, man. He just always bothers he goes from one picnic to another picnic. You can shoo him away from one picnic because he's a bother and he doesn't get it done. But then he's able to latch on to another barbecue, another picnic or whatever. And he just sits back and he picks the right moments. He picks the right teams where he's that backup type guy. He's that backup type guy, like when he was with he was with the Saints, and he wound up back. I forget who he back. It wasn't Carr. It was I don't know. They had a bunch of guys, but nonetheless, he was. He was able to put himself in a situation where he could start, and the same here with Carolina, man. And I don't know what it is, Jay, because I don't think Bryce Young is that bad. I don't think he's that worse than Andy Dalton. I know Andy Dalton has the experience. He's been around the block and then some, but he found a way to and Carolina beats. What did they beat the Raiders? The Raiders. Yeah. And that's a game that I had the Raiders penciled in because of the fact that it matters how bad Carolina was playing, how bad they looked. Even with the change at quarterback, I just thought that they would be different, but they wouldn't be any better. But obviously, Andy Dalton, proved me wrong, along with others as well.
Yeah.
But he has the opportunity, man. He's taking advantage of the opportunity. I don't know how long it's going to last because Andy Dalton is that guy. I think maybe they made it the right change at the right time because there's no real film on him, no real video on him with this particular team. Right. So that's probably, kind of, I'm not trying to make an excuse for the Raiders by any stretch, but we'll see next week. I forget who they have, but we'll see next week and see if he can continue to go because generally Andy Dalton movies, don't last that long. They're not that good that long.
That's right. Exactly. Yeah, man. I was surprised he played as well as he did. I was shocked that they won the football game. Yeah. And I just don't know, what's the long-term plan? Andy Dalton isn't your long-term solution. So I feel like you got to play Bryce. I know he hasn't been great. He's looked downright awful at times. But at some point, you're going to put him back out there to see what you got. And for me, I just think the sooner the better. The more he can play, the more he can figure it out. And then at least you can give him a fair evaluation. But let's say Andy Dalton plays good enough to stay in there the rest of the year. Now what? Are you starting back at square one again next year with Bryce Young? So I'm just not sure what the plan is in Carolina, man.
Yeah, but they were talking about, rumors that he was being traded, and he's come out and said he's open to a trade. So it's if he doesn't get his job back, I think that, he and his agent will go move forward. Let me get out of here because this is obviously not for me. I'm not the guy that you thought I was, and you're not the team that I thought you were. Not that he had a choice to where he would go, but nonetheless, I think that if they continue to stay with Andy Dalton and they don't look good, I don't think maybe they put him back in a situation where okay, well, we have nothing to lose, nothing to gain. Let's see if we can get this young kid some experience here. And if I was Bryce Young, I'd be like, nah, you had that opportunity. So who knows how the game would have went? If the game plan was the same, who's to say that, Bryce Young couldn't have executed that same game plan against the Raiders?
Yeah, man. Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Good stuff, K-Walk. We're going to take a quick 30-second break. When we come back, we're going to talk about Coach Prime. Colorado had a big win against Baylor on Saturday night, and we're going to see if they can keep it going against a tough UCF team this weekend. And then I also we got a huge game, man. Number 2, Georgia, number 4, Alabama on Saturday. We got to talk about that one a little bit as well. So we're going to do that when we come back. Before we go to break, there's Heather saying, yo, Hev, we appreciate you listening. Appreciate you checking us out.
And sure.
We're going to take a 30-second break, and we'll be right back. You're listening to The Sideline Speaks with Kevin Walker and Jason Collins.
Great. Hello, this is Marvin Lewis, and you're watching The Sideline Speaks with Brittany Jones, Jason Collins, and Kevin Walker. They're taking a break, and they will be right back.
All right, welcome back to The Sideline Speaks. Kevin Walker and Jason Collins. No Brittany Jones tonight, but Britt will be back with us next week. K-Walk, Coach Prime and Colorado, man, they look like they were dead in the water on Saturday night, and they found a way to pull it out. Shedeur throws a late bomb touchdown pass with no time left on the clock in regulation. They end up winning it in overtime. What were your thoughts on that big Colorado win on Saturday?
Jay, unfortunately, I did not get to watch all of this game because I was out Saturday night when I was celebrating my son's 21st birthday. So I didn't get a chance to watch this game, but I did watch the highlights, and because I know we were going to talk about it, on the show. Just Shedeur being Shedeur, man. I mean, I don't know what people's true assessment on Shedeur is. I haven't heard anyone like Dan Orlovsky. I want to hear Dan Orlovsky if he hasn't already said it, because he's the quarterback, connoisseur, guru, if you will. But Shedeur, man, when you look at him, man, I just think that he has everything that you need from the quality standpoint of being a really, really good NFL quarterback. I mean, he has the arm strength, he has the smarts, he processes really well. And if he needs to, he can buy some time. He's not a runner, but he's a scrambler. He can buy you time there. So when I saw that, and you watch it, and it's kind of build up or whatever, for that particular play, I'm like, wow, that's clutch. And then when you add stuff like that into it, Jay, the intangibles, where you just have that dog in you, as the saying is nowadays. He has that dog in him, man, and it's a big and it has obviously has a lot to do with Prime, and his athletic ability and his belief in himself. So, man, not surprised, Jay, by any stretch of the imagination, but definitely like, wow, it was a wow moment. Wow moment. Even knowing that he has the ability to do that, it still made you say, wow, great throw, clutch in the time, in the moment, all that good stuff, accuracy, big dog moment, clutch, all that stuff that you need to be a successful quarterback. He portrayed that on that particular play, Jay.
Yeah, man, I agree with you 100%. I think he's got everything it takes to be a really good NFL quarterback. I've seen guys like Orlovsky talk about him a little bit. I don't know that they've given like the full breakdown, but I do remember Orlovsky saying a lot of good things about him.
Yeah.
I think people that really study the game and are watching, I think they're taking notice.
Yes.
How sometimes they put up like the percent chance to win the game at a certain time. Like it had to be like a 1% chance for them to win that game at that time. So for them to be able to pull that thing off, man, that's a phenomenal win. In a game, honestly, I had them losing. I didn't think they were going to beat Baylor, man, because they're still, for all the great skill players that they have, they're still not very good up front. I mean, Shedeur was running for his life again. I think he was sacked 8 times in the game. That's way too many. So they still can't protect him. But man, he's an absolute playmaker. There's no question about that. And tough too. I mean, you got to talk about his toughness, because not only the 8 sacks, but he was hit multiple times on top of that. But the kid just keeps getting back up, man. So hats off to them. Great win. Now they play UCF this weekend in Florida. UCF is favored by a couple touchdowns, I think. So Colorado's coming into this thing as an underdog. You think they can pull off another victory, man, and get to 4-1? How do you see this thing playing out?
I think they can do it, John. I think they will do it too. I'm going to pick Colorado in this game to do it. I just think they're going to build off of last week's game, against Baylor, and they're going to show that the fight, and then they're going to continue to ride that momentum. I know momentum, momentum. If you will. A lot of people don't believe in that, but I think they will. They'll look at the film and they'll see what they have to do. They'll break down the film for UCF, and they'll take it from there. I think it's going to be a dogfight without question. It's not going to be an easy one, but I think they can, and I think they definitely will do it. They definitely can, and I think they will do it as well.
I'm a little skeptical, only because I think UCF is pretty good up front, and they struggle. Like we saw it when they played Nebraska. Like when you got someone that's really good up front, they struggle because they're just not. But to your point, if they can make some big plays and get some stuff going over the top, obviously, Travis Hunter, who we haven't even mentioned talking about
Oh
them.
yeah, I remember him.
Absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah.
A game changer. So I think they have a chance. I think it's going to be a really good game. It'll be interesting. But if they can win that, man, and move to 4-1, they got that thing kind of going in the right direction.
Yeah, without question. Right? And you know what? I think that a lot. I think they have so much talent, Jay. And I know you mentioned the physicality that that some of these teams bring into
Yep.
bring to the fight. With Colorado. But I think they sometimes they can overcome that. Sometimes they have an ability to do that, and we saw that. Again, we talked about that particular play with Shador. I think they can overcome that, Jay. Either keep an extra guy in there or keep Shador rolling out to his left or to his right, buy some time. But I think they have the weapons to do it. Will it be enough? We'll see. I think they can do it. I definitely think they can do it. I'm going to take it in our Princess and never had it so good sports radio. I'm going to pick. I will pick it. I'm pretty sure that'll be on there.
And that's a good point, man. They did do a little bit of move in the pocket on Saturday too. I'd like to see them do it a little more, but they did kind of roll Shador out a little bit just to try to get him away from some of the pressure. I think that's something they could probably do a little bit more just to keep him upright. So that'll definitely be something to look at. All right, man, we got a big matchup, number 2 against number 4. We've had some good college games so far this year, but I think this is really that first stamp, great chance to be great college football game this weekend. Number 2 Georgia against number 4 Alabama. How do you see this thing playing out? Who's going to win this thing on Saturday night?
Yeah, Jay, I got to give the edge to Georgia. I mean, they got Kirby Smart, and what's his name? The quarterback from Alabama, is it Mitchell? I forget his name.
I don't know why I can't remember his name. I'm gonna look it up.
Mingo. I can't think of his name. I know something of that nature, but nonetheless, I think Georgia's going to give him fits, man. I know he can make plays with his legs, and if you give him enough time, he can definitely make the
Milrow.
Yeah, like it was Mill something or Milton, someone in them, but yeah, Milrow. Yeah, so I'm going to take Georgia here, Jay, because the fact of the matter is, I just think they're the better team. They should be number 1, but we get why they're not number 1 because of that Kentucky game. We get that, and the way Texas has been playing. But Texas played two Power Puff games back to back, and that leapfrog. But nonetheless, it'll all play out at the end. So I'm not going to start another debate. Over there, topic, another segment there. But yeah, I like Georgia here again. I think they're a complete a better team from a complete standpoint, offensively and defensively, and especially I think they have the edge at quarterback. Milrow, again, he can make those plays, but I don't think he's going to have time to make those plays, especially those downfield plays that he generally gets if he's given time. He's going to be running for his life, and I think that if they do stay close in this game, it's going to be because of his scrambling ability, his running ability. Because he can not only scramble, he can run as well. So, but I'm still going to give the edge to Georgia here in the close one.
Yeah, I agree with you, K-Walk. And even there has been times Georgia's offense hasn't been great this year, but their defense has been phenomenal all year long. And I don't think they're going to let Milrow do to them what he does to everybody else. I just don't think they're going to let that happen. And as good as Alabama has been, and I know they went on the road and kind of blew Wisconsin out, but watching that game, Wisconsin was able to run the football on Alabama a little bit. They just couldn't finish drives. Right. So if Georgia can get a running game going against Alabama, I think it could end up being a long night. I'm not going to say Georgia's going to blow them out, but I think by the time it's all said and done, I think Georgia wins comfortably. I'd say maybe by a couple of touchdowns. I don't necessarily think this one's going to be like coming down to the wire or anything like
Kentucky
that.
Game. So. They better not have another Kentucky game.
They got to play good. Good. Georgia always does that once or twice a year where they just come out and just kind of lay an egg, but get by or not get by, as we saw in the SEC championship game last year. But we'll see. I like Georgia, man. I just don't think they're going to get beat this time, but we'll see. Let's jump over to the WNBA, K-Walk. Some awards were given out by the Associated Press. Now the WNBA is going to give their awards out
Yeah.
a little bit later down the road, but the AP did name Asia Wilson the unanimous MVP. I guess you said another Captain Obvious moment. I don't think anybody else is getting that award. But your thoughts on Asia Wilson winning the AP WNBA MVP?
Yeah, well deserved, without question. I mean, we talked about this weeks and weeks and weeks ago. That when it kind of was talked about when the season was dwindling down and we're getting closer and closer to where we are now, we started to hand out our awards, and our awards for the MVP was not just Asia Wilson; it was unanimous for everyone, for yourself, my Britt, and myself as well. And we all had her unanimous MVP. I mean, because everything she's done. I mean, look, she led the league in points scored, rebounds, I think blocks, steals. I forget exactly what the number was, but it was like 4 different categories, which obviously has never been done in the history of the WNBA. And and look what she did in the in the Olympics as well. I mean, she's not just the best in the league; she's the best in the world, and she's shown that. So so well deserved, and no surprise there, in my opinion.
I agree with you 1,000%. The AP also named their Rookie of the Year, Caitlin Clark. This was also unanimous. K-Walk. Any issue with it being unanimous? I mean, I think we both had Clark as our Rookie of the Year as well, so no surprise there. But any issue with it being unanimous, like no love for Angel Reese whatsoever?
You know what, Jake? Yes and no. I get it because she got hurt late in the season, and I think that had a lot to do with it. But I think she would have won the MVP, meaning Caitlin Clark would have won the MVP regardless. It probably, had Angel Reese stayed healthy, I think she probably got a couple votes here and there, or what have you. So I'm saying I don't have an issue with it, but I think they should have gave us some type of love. One person, to somebody, give us some type of love, because you already know everyone else's votes. You already know what the outcome is going to be. So just say, hey, listen, I voted for you, or unless you're just a Caitlin Clark person, and say, listen, I don't think unless you're on the fence, you could have gave it to Angel Reese, but unless you were just all in on Caitlin Clark, I understand it. But I don't have a problem with it, Jack. I think that the injury had played the late injury played a lot of a big part in that.
Yeah, I'm with you. Now the AP also came out with their first team all WNBA. K-Walk. Asia Wilson, Brianna Stewart, Nafisa Collier, Alyssa Thomas, and Caitlin Clark. First team all WNBA. Any issue with the first teamers at all, Kevin?
I can't, man. I can't have an issue with it, Jay. We know Caitlin Clark is Caitlin Clark. We know what she's about. And we pose the question on this, like, who do you start with? Angel Reese? Who do you start your team with? Are you going to start with Angel Reese, or are you going to start with Caitlin Clark? You say Caitlin Clark, and your reason is because she's a better all-around player, and she's a facilitator. And look at that team. Look at that team, and look who's going to be, handling the ball, and who's going to be the facilitator of that team. And without question, Caitlin Clark is right. Even though she's a rookie, she's the right person for that. I mean, she's the right player for that particular position. So I have no quarrels with that whatsoever, Jay. I think they hit it spot on, especially being, a unanimous Rookie of the Year, and all of the records that she broke. She broke some rookie records, and she broke some WNBA records as well. So no quarrels whatsoever there, Jay. So I think the league or the committee got it spot on without question.
Yeah, and I don't who would you replace her with? Like, if you were thinking, okay, we're going to replace her with someone, who would it be? And I really believe, especially after the All-Star break or the Olympic break, there's no question that she's been all WNBA after the Olympic break. Like, if you want to argue that early in the year she wasn't that good, okay, fine. But the last 15 to 18 games of the season, she's been lights out. So I'm okay with it as
and well. I think that Olympic break helped her out a lot, Jay, because you mentioned in the earlier season she wasn't what she looked like in the latter part of the season, because we remember she came right off of that the tournament, went right into camp, and then went on the camp and right into preseason and preseason right into the season.
Yeah.
And then, she was, in my opinion, I thought she was a little tired. She was a little fatigued there. Not saying that anybody else wasn't, but when you look at it, after the Olympic break was pretty decent, a pretty decent break.
Yeah.
After she got her legs, she got her legs underneath her. She was able to, focus on basketball, just from a mental standpoint.
Yeah.
So I think that helped her out a lot as well. I don't see that happening going forward.
Right.
To be honest with you, Jay.
Yeah, but the other nice thing too is she won't be coming off a long college season, so she'll have plenty of time to
and another 4 years
right coming into it. So
exactly.
Yeah, man, I agree 100%. Yeah, Heather, you missed the Commanders talk. Heather said, "Did you talk Commanders yet?" Missed it, but we were both very impressed.
Yes,
very impressed with the young quarterback. He was phenomenal last night, and a lot of upside for the Commanders. We said too, K-Walk, a couple of weeks. I mean, I feel like we are in agreement on this that the Commanders were better than people think they are, right? Like that they have some talent on that roster, that they built the thing the right way. And they're gonna win some games that people aren't expecting them to win this year, especially if the young QB can play the way that he played last night. They're gonna be a contender right now. Hey, they're tied for the division lead right now.
I was about to say, Jay, you stole my thunder though. But they're in a position right now that they can be serious talks about can they win or will they win the division. So
because if you think about it, the Giants. I mean, I feel like we could write them off. Dallas has not looked good. Philly's 2-1, but has not been overly impressive. So, I mean, you could make the argument that the Commanders are playing the best football in that division right now.
Absolutely.
Heather, they're going to be in the mix. They're definitely going to be in the mix.
They too. We'll continue to talk about them. We like them.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Well, last thing, and I might have asked you this last week, but now that we've seen a couple playoff games, I'll give you a chance to change your mind if you want or need to. When it's all said and done, not who do you want to win the WNBA championship, but who's going to be holding the trophy when it's all said and done?
You know what, Jay? Looking at this, hard for me to say my squad, but I'm going to say my squad. I just think they're the team to beat this year. I know your Aces. They pulled away late the other night against the Storm. They were tied, and they just went a 9-0 run or 11-2 run or whatever it was. I was watching that game, and I'm like, oh my goodness! And that, Storm just couldn't score. But I know where you're kind of going with that, Jay, because of the fact of the matter is the Aces are probably going to turn it on when they need to turn it on. But I like the Liberty, and I'm not just saying that because they're my squad, because they've been playing the most consistent ball from start to finish for the most part. And even though they're down right now 9, Stewie just hit us, so they're down 7. So I think that they're going to come back in this game, and I think they win it, and then I think they're going to continue to go on and I don't know if they cut down the nets in the WNBA. I don't think so. I should know this, ladies and gentlemen, but I don't. But nonetheless, I think they popped the bottles at the end of the tournament, if you will.
They've definitely been the best team from start to finish. I don't think you can argue that. I'm gonna go a little different here, K-Walk. Even though I love the Aces. The Minnesota Lynx have kind of been like my sneaky, second favorite team. Like Nafisa Collier, she's like my favorite player in the league. I just love her game, but I love the way the Lynx play. I think they're the deepest team in the league. They're well coached, and defensively, they might be the best defense. Like they just have a lot of good things happening for them right now. So I'm going to take the Minnesota Lynx to cut down the nets when it's all said and done. So
I'm not mad at that pick. I'm not mad at that at all, Jay.
Yeah.
I'm not, because I like them too. They're a scary team, and I don't want the Liberty to see them. Hopefully I don't
that would have to be the championship matchup.
Would it be the champion? Okay, so let's do it. Then I want to see them, Jay. Then I want to see them.
So that would be a nice final if we get those two teams in the final. All right, good stuff, K-Walk, man. Just the two of us, so we get off a little bit early when it's just the two of us, man. That was some good stuff tonight. But before we get out of here, man, let the people know where they can find you if they're looking for you on social media, and then if there's just anything you're looking forward to this week.
Yeah, man. I'm. You could catch me. Facebook, Kevin Walker. Instagram, Kevin.Walker142. On X, formerly known as Twitter, at Kevin Walker142. And you can catch me tomorrow night on Sports Talk with K Walk and E Scott. Never Had It So Good Sports Radio. Wherever you guys get your podcast, tune into that. We got a great one dialed up for you tomorrow evening, again 7 p.m. Sports Talk with K Walk, E Scott. Never Had It So Good Sports Radio. What I'm looking forward to this weekend, Jay, I'm looking forward to just more football, WNBA. Baseball season is winding down, so we're getting into the playoffs. Last 6 games for my Yankees. So they got one more to win. They just have to win one more, and they pop in the bottles for the AL East Championship, and then the Liberty, of course. So I'm looking forward to just a plethora of sports, Jay. And this shout out to my mother-in-law. Her happy birthday to her tonight for without question. Mom, happy birthday to you.
Yeah, good stuff. Happy birthday for sure. You guys can find me at Jason Talk Sports on all social media platforms at Jason Talk Sports. Like UK Walk, I'm just enjoying all the sports, man. We got some WNBA action tonight. Obviously, college and pro football this weekend. I won't get into the baseball stuff too hard until playoffs officially get rolling, but it's a great time to be a sports fan right now, man. This is a great season for a lot of great sports going on. So never short on things to watch. That's for sure. Ladies and gentlemen, we appreciate you guys tuning in with us tonight. We will be back here live next Tuesday at 7 p.m. Brittany will be back with us next Tuesday. She had some stuff she had to take care of tonight, but she'll be back next week. But K-Walk and I, we feel like we did a pretty good job holding it down tonight. And we'll be back next Tuesday live at 7 p.m. So for Kevin Walker, I'm Jason Collins, and we'll see you guys next week.